Buckle up, Buttercup, because we're going all the way back to the beginning. This isn't just a story about a broke bitch getting her revenge, this is a saga. This is my origin story. Picture a split-level house in suburban Connecticut, circa 1998. The kind of house where every decorative pillow has a specific purpose and God help you if you actually use it. My parents, Richard and Margaret Prescott, yes, they actually go by Richard and Margaret, like they're auditioning for a period drama, had the perfect American dream blueprint. 2.5 kids, except they fucked up the math and got 2. And one of them was defective. That defective one was me. Chloe arrived 3 years before me, and I'm pretty sure she came out wearing a tiny tiara and clutching a scepter. My mother's first words upon seeing her, according to my aunt who loves to spill tea at funerals, were, "Oh, thank God, she's beautiful." By the time I came along, the enthusiasm had waned. My dad was apparently in the waiting room reading a golf magazine when I was born, and my mom's first reaction to me was, "She's so red." Is she supposed to be that red? Spoiler, I was not. I had jaundice. I spent my first week of life under bilirubin lights while my mom took Chloe to get her ears pierced. I'm not making that up. Chloe has baby pictures with tiny little diamond studs at 2 weeks old. I have hospital photos where I look like a depressed rotisserie chicken. The narrative was established early. Chloe was the spirited one. I was the difficult one. Chloe would throw tantrums in the grocery store, and my mom would coo, "She's just passionate. She has strong feelings." I would quietly ask for a different brand of cereal, and my mom would sigh like I'd just asked her to sell a kidney. Why do you always have to be so difficult? Can't you just be easy like your sister? Easy. That's the word they used for Chloe. Chloe, who at age 7, told my grandmother that her famous apple pie was a little dry and then got praised for her honest palate. Chloe, who once accidentally let the hamster out of its cage and then watched with serene detachment as our cat turned it into a snack. My parents blamed me for leaving the cage open. I was 4. I couldn't reach the cage. My childhood bedroom was the smallest room in the house, which they called the nursery even when I was 12. It had wallpaper with pastel bunnies on it. Chloe got the big room with the bay window and the in-soot bathroom that she used exclusively for doing elaborate skincare routines with products our mother bought her. I shared a bathroom with the guest toilet. The guest toilet had a tiny sink and one of those soap dispensers shaped like a seashell that nobody was allowed to actually use. I washed my hands with bar soap that left a weird film. For 16 years. But the money thing started early. When I was 8, I saved up my allowance for months to buy a Tamagotchi. This was the holy grail of 90s childhood, you understand. I had $18 in ones and quarters in a little plastic purse shaped like a ladybug. I was so proud. The day before we were supposed to go to the mall, my mom sat me down with her concerned face. "Sweetie, Chloe's having a really hard time at school. The girls are being so mean to her. She needs a little pick-me-up. Wouldn't it be nice if you bought her something special with your money? To show her you love her?" Reader, I did it. I bought Chloe a $15 sweater from Limited Too. She wore it once, spilled Kool-Aid on it intentionally because it wasn't even the color she wanted, and my mom threw it away without a second thought. My Tamagotchi money, gone. When I cried, my dad told me I was being selfish and that real joy comes from giving. I was 8. I was indoctrinated. High school was a masterclass in gaslighting. Chloe was a cheerleader, obviously. She had the perfect blonde ponytail and the perfect boyfriend, Mark, who was a year older and drove a truck he called Bertha. I was not that. I was on the yearbook committee. I was in the drama club, but only as part of the stage crew because I wasn't pretty enough to be on stage. I read books during lunch. I was, in the parlance of the time, a nerd. But I was a useful nerd. Chloe needed her English essays edited? I was so good with words, according to my mom, who would hand me Chloe's laptop with the expectation that I would just polish it a little. By senior year, I was basically writing her papers from scratch. She got into a good college. I got into a good college too, but my parents forgot to attend my acceptance letter celebration because they were at Chloe's senior sunset photo shoot. There are 400 pictures of Chloe in a white dress in a field. There are 0 pictures of me holding my acceptance letter. I took a selfie. It's the only proof I have. College was when the financial vampirism really kicked into high gear. I worked 3 jobs: library assistant, barista, and weekend receptionist at a gym. I paid for my own tuition, my own books, my own ramen noodles. Chloe's tuition? Paid for. Chloe's off-campus apartment? Paid for. Chloe's spring break trip to Cancun? You guessed it. Paid for. When I asked about this discrepancy once, just once, because I learned my lesson, my dad looked at me like I'd suggested we sacrifice a goat in the living room. Chloe needs more support, he said. She's not as practical as you are. You're a survivor, sweetheart. You've always been so independent. Translation: you're not our favorite, so figure it out yourself. And I did. I figured it all out. I graduated with honors and a job offer. Chloe graduated with a communications degree and a vague plan to find herself, which apparently required a monthly allowance from my parents to do. But here's the thing about being the practical one, the survivor, the one who figures it out: you learn to pay attention. You learn to notice things. Like how my parents' financial struggles always seemed to coincide with Chloe's expensive whims. Like how my mom's voice would get exactly 1 octave higher when she called to check in, which was code for "we need something." Like how my dad would only hug me when he needed a cosigner. I kept every receipt, every bank statement, every Venmo transaction, not because I was planning revenge, but because I was so terrified of becoming them. I tracked every penny because nobody else was going to track it for me. Little did I know, I was building a case file. The worst part wasn't even the money. It was the emotional whiplash. They'd call me for help, and for one brief, shining moment, I'd feel needed. I'd feel like part of the family. I'd drive 3 hours to help my mom organize her closet because she was so overwhelmed, and she'd make me lunch and tell me I was her favorite daughter. For about 4 hours, I'd believe it. Then Chloe would show up with news about her promotion or her vacation or her latest Instagram-worthy accomplishment, and I'd become invisible again. The closet organizer. The help. The one who eats in the den. There was this one Thanksgiving, I think I was 24, where I'd driven through a blizzard to get there. 5 hours on icy roads because my mom said she couldn't imagine Thanksgiving without her girls. I walk in, snow still melting in my hair, carrying a homemade pumpkin cheesecake I'd spent 3 hours on. My mom gives me a distracted kiss on the cheek and says, "Oh good, you can help me finish the gravy while your sister gets settled." Chloe arrives an hour later, fresh from the airport, no food, no contributions, just a carry-on bag and a loud complaint about the peasant class she had to endure on her flight. My dad literally jumps up to take her bag. My mom gasps about how thin she looks and immediately starts piling food onto a plate for her. I'm standing at the stove, whisking lumps out of gravy, invisible. At dinner, Chloe holds forth about her new job in marketing. My parents hang on every word. I mention that I just got promoted to senior analyst. There's a pause. My dad says, "That's nice, honey. Pass the rolls." And then they're back to Chloe. I sat there, chewing my perfectly good turkey, and thought, why do I keep coming back? But I didn't have an answer. Not yet. The answer came slowly, in drips and drabs. It came when my mom borrowed $2,000 for an emergency root canal and then posted pictures from a spa weekend 2 days later. It came when my dad asked me to co-sign a loan for a small business venture that turned out to be a timeshare in Florida. It came when Chloe, in the middle of crashing on my couch for the 3rd time that year, told me I was lucky I didn't have real problems like she did because my job was just staring at spreadsheets all day. I started keeping a journal. Not a feelings journal, a record. Every request, every promise to pay back, every broken promise. I wrote down the dates, the amounts, the excuses. I wrote down the things they said to me. You're so much more responsible than Chloe. We know we can always count on you. You're the only one who understands us. I wrote them all down, and then I wrote next to them what they actually meant. You're the only one who will give us money without complaining. The spreadsheet started as a joke. I was bored at work one day, and I thought, how much have I actually given them? I pulled up my bank records, expecting maybe 5 or 10,000 over the years. You already know what I found. $43,782. Over 7 years. For their emergencies. For their dreams. For their we just need a little help this one time. And not once, not one single time, had anyone ever said thank you without immediately following it up with another request. Not once had anyone ever offered to pay me back. Not once had anyone ever acknowledged that maybe, just maybe, I was the one holding this whole fucking family together while they all pretended I was the broken one. The Christmas Eve dinner in the den wasn't the first time they'd made me feel like an outsider. It was just the first time I was ready to see it for what it was. When my dad made that toast thanking Chloe and Mark for their generous contribution, I almost laughed out loud. Chloe's generous contribution was a bottle of cheap champagne she'd gotten for free at a work event. My generous contribution was the lasagna, the gifts for everyone, the $300 I'd slipped my mom 2 weeks earlier for Christmas decorations. But sure. Toast to Chloe. Toast to the golden child who brings nothing and takes everything. I sat there on that folding chair, eating off that TV tray, and I felt something shift. It was like a lock clicking into place. Not anger I'd felt before. This was clarity. This was the moment I stopped being their daughter and started being their accountant. When I got home that night, I didn't cry. I opened my laptop. I opened the spreadsheet. And I added a new column, interest. At a modest 5%, compounded annually. Because if I was going to be their bank, I was going to start acting like one. The next morning, I made some calls. I removed myself from that credit card. I changed my phone number. Not blocked, changed. New number, new voicemail, new life. I sent an email to the family group chat. Hi everyone. Making some changes to simplify my life. New number attached. If you need me, that's the best way to reach me. Hope you're all well. Chloe responded with a gif of a woman screaming. My mom responded with a phone call to my old number that went nowhere. My dad didn't respond at all, which told me everything I needed to know about how much he actually cared. The months that followed were quiet. Peaceful. I waited for the shoe to drop, for the guilt to hit, for the desperate need for their approval to come flooding back. It didn't. Instead, I felt lighter. I started going to the gym. I started cooking for myself, not for a crowd that wouldn't appreciate it. I started saving money, real money, money that stayed in my account. The letter, the spreadsheet, the tracking number, that came later. After I'd had time to think. After I'd had time to realize that they didn't deserve my silence. They deserved to know. They deserved to see, in black and white, exactly what they'd done. Exactly what they'd cost me. I printed 43 pages. One for every $1,000, almost. I highlighted the biggest payments. The root canal that was a spa weekend. The car repair that was a new golf club set. The emergency that was Chloe's rent. I wrote the letter by hand because I wanted them to see my handwriting, to remember that this came from me, the daughter they'd dismissed, the sister they'd used, the black sheep who'd finally figured out she was a wolf. And then I sent it. Certified mail. Return receipt requested. The tracking number showed delivery on a Tuesday at 11:47 a.m. At 11:52, my phone started blowing up with calls from unknown numbers. I let them go to voicemail. I listened to them later, with a glass of wine, like they were episodes of a particularly satisfying drama. My mom, sobbing, "How could you? We're your parents. We loved you." My dad, sputtering, "This is financial blackmail. This is, I could sue you." Chloe, screeching, "You psychotic bitch." Mom and Dad are devastated. "I hope you're happy." I was, Chloe. I really was. The cousin who sent me the Memorial Day photo, bless her, she's always been on my side, said the fallout was spectacular. My dad's credit score dropped so fast it made a sound. Their refinancing fell through. Their dream vacation got cancelled. And Chloe, sweet, useless Chloe, was suddenly on the hook for things she'd never had to pay for before. The dynamic shifted. Without me to bleed, they turned on each other. So now I'm here. In my condo. With my 6-seat table that nobody eats in the pool room because I don't have a pool room. I have a balcony. I have plants. I have a savings account. I have peace. And every time I think about them, every time that old guilt tries to creep back in, I open that folder labeled clinking glasses and I look at the screenshot of my dad's credit score. It's at 492 now. Last I checked, anyway. I told you this was a saga. But every saga needs a happy ending. And mine is this: the black sheep doesn't need the flock anymore. The flock needs her, and she's not answering. Now if you'll excuse me, I'm going to make myself a cup of tea in a mug that doesn't say "World's Okayest Daughter," because I burned that mug in a ceremonial fire last solstice. It was very therapeutic. Clinking glasses.